Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Rob Smirking Gun Reviews, and we are back with more shaky cam because I have got my mic attached to the phone. So, anyway, more Man in the High Castle Season 3. We are up to Episode 4. It's called Sabra. So, full spoilers if you have not seen the episode. So, let's just jump right in, okay? So, the guy who jumped Frank, Samson, has him take him to this place where they're supposed to be Jews. Automatically, I kind of knew where this was headed, especially after the very end of last episode when they were torturing the resistance guy, the priest, and what he says to Keto. So it's not surprising that once he gets there and this scummy guy who I don't know what he was expecting to get out of this. Like, was he going to kill the whole town? Like, there was no way he was really going to get out of there unless the writing said that everybody turns into a bunch of pussies and just lets this guy go. But he threatens, he wants to take the priest out of there because he thinks he's a Jew. And this is when we are introduced back to, which is a good thing, I'm glad. But this guy's plan was just really stupid. And this is where we see Frank. Frank is still alive. And it is this world's Frank. It's because he's all burned up. Otherwise, I might think he was another guy. And in typical Frank fashion, he wants to save everybody. So he goes to give himself up. And then Frank Samson tries to give himself up. And then everybody, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jew. And then, this guy gets all frustrated and lets somebody get the drop on him and blows his head off. And then in typical, again, like, okay, so I'm glad that Frank's back, but then immediately I'm like, oh, God, Frank's back. We could have saved him. Frank's problem is he's trying to save everybody. It's just like Joe's problem is that he's only really out for himself. And Juliana just wants to know what the hell's going on. I've said this in other reviews. This is a very, the most original show I think that's on TV right now. Original, besides The Expanse, which is, you can't really say how original it is. It's original in its execution and some of its writing. But this is like the concept. I mean, even though, yeah, it's based on a Philip K. Dick book, so you know it's going to be original already. But it's the most original thing that's on TV right now. We've never seen anything like this show. The problem with this show is in its three main protagonists. They're not very interesting people. All of the bad guys, or all the people that would be considered bad guys, they're like 10 times more interesting than any of our heroes. Frank and now that he's back, Frank is just being Frank again. The guy that I just was like, ugh, Frank, when are you going to learn? And I blame that not on the actor, but on the writers. And that's the other problem with this show, is sometimes it can be very brilliantly written. But then other times, and especially with our three main heroes, their writing is usually really clunky, really just cringy, terrible stuff. And they've decided that this is the way they want to go with these characters, so you're really not going to see much of a change. And so while I'm supposed to be happy to see Frank, and I guess I'm glad he's not dead, when automatically you think maybe Frank has changed, maybe he has elevated himself after what has happened, but no, he hasn't. And I'm not saying you don't save people. It's just the way Frank thinks about it. It's not feasible. And if he wanted to sacrifice himself anyway, it would have been smarter if he's just not going to change on any level. Then he would have been better off if he had just stayed dead. Good shows need your characters to change and grow. And so he hasn't. Not really. And so that's basically it. We're introduced to this other lady who they run this place. It's called Sabra, and it's basically kind of like an urban legend. This place where Jews can go. And that's good. I mean, they have got a pretty big target on their backs, but whatever. Frank and him talk about the paintings, the symbols, and how, you know, they're causing like a ruckus in San Francisco. People are, you know, taking the things with the yellow sun over the red, kind of like saying like the flip-flop of like the Japanese flag, sort of, with the red sun. Instead of the red sun, it's the yellow sun. And Frank trying to tell him that people are getting messed up over this. And Frank's like, good. So, okay, if he feels like he needs to save everybody, you know, like, we could have talked him down, he could have surrendered. But then on the other hand, when he hears about people rebelling and getting arrested and beaten up and killed in the streets, he's like, oh yeah, it's working. What? I don't understand that. And I'm not being dense either. I feel like if you feel like that is easily understood, that kind of it doesn't make sense to have two ways. Like anyway, let's move on. So Joe. Now I've said Joe is pretty stupid in the past, because he is. He's written really stupid. He's not a smart guy. He just kind of fumbles his way through things, and he's easily manipulated by everybody that he's ever come across. Whether it's Smith or Juliana or his father or that Nicole girl, he just kind of drifts in and out of things by, you know, like given a mission, and he's never really found himself. He's always doing things to either please other people or doing what he thinks other people want him to do. He's never been his own person. Now in this season, it may be that he is starting to wake up a little bit and find out who he really is. But again, I could be completely wrong, and he could be just another, you know, be as dumb as he ever was. But what I feel like with him going out and taking out these people that he's supposed to for Berlin, because they know too much about that project, so I think that's Himmler trying to protect, you know, keep the Japanese from being able to travel to other worlds, like Himmler, I think, is really working on. And so Joe's taking out these people for Himmler. So he's got no problem doing that. It still doesn't quite explain why he killed the guy in New York, who Smith now finds finally. And I would think if I'm Smith, that I would know that Joe killed him. Or had something to do with it. But who were those two guys working with Joe? That's what I want. You know, like, what's Joe's real purpose? Like, is he secretly smarter than we all think? Because in the first couple of seasons, he's been kind of doing whatever Juliana wants. And now that he's back in her life, and she's kind of letting him back in her life, could he finally be using her? Could we finally really be seeing the villain turn on Joe, the real person that he is? Her thinking that because of their past, he is, this good man. Could we be seeing a real villain turn? And him actually using her. Now, he's supposed to take out Tagomi. And he seems conflicted on it because of Juliana's relationship with him. And Tagomi has got himself in this position where he's hanging out with Tamlin Tomita's character. So that's what they are using to find out where he goes, so that Joe can get a better shot at him instead of being out in the open. Now that's how the episode ends, with him, following Tagomi very closely until Tagomi knows he's there and has the gun on him. And we don't see what happens here. It's supposed to, leave us hanging for the next episode. Now, Tagomi, maybe he'll just disappear and travel to another world. Or maybe Joe will talk to him or something. I don't know. I don't think this is it for Tagomi. I don't think he's going to die here. I think something will happen. Because otherwise, just shoot him right now. You know what I mean? Like, leave that the dramatic ending. If they were going to kill him, they would have killed him right there, I think. Now, little Nicole, who's... her scenes make me really mad. And it made me think, about this show and how the first two seasons and up to now, there has been, this is like a hopeless, very dark dreary show as far as being a viewer. This trailer that they've put out, where they're playing Pride in the Name of Love and making it seem really uplifting and like, we're gonna fight back and yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna finally get some, we're gonna turn the tide. We're gonna be able to start fighting back against the Nazis to some real degree where we start feeling good about watching this show. Because this show is original and it's got this great concept. It is a chore to watch because there's no hope ever in anything. Nothing really good ever happens. It is very depressing. And it's very hard to watch scenes like, or in this, where they're destroying our history, where their whole propaganda thing with Nazi Don Draper is to destroy our history and replace it with theirs, their version of it, this new history that they want to create. And now America is not built on the best, always the best history, that things have been done in this country that are pretty terrible. But there have been some good things too, and just wiping that out. I mean, I guess maybe karma's a bitch because we pretty much killed all the Indians, and so maybe this is what we deserve. But it's still hard to watch. And it just made me think that this show better have like a payoff. And not some cheap, like, well, and then the Nazis were defeated, and then everything goes back to like some time loop where we actually won the war and none of this ever happened. There better be a real payoff. I mean, I want to see bodies hitting the floor, all right? I want some vengeance. I want to see some Nazis and some Japanese soldiers from this show, not in real life. I want to see the bad people get taken down hard. Because after this is episode 4. Now there's still 9 episodes left. So I know there's plenty to happen in these hour-long episodes where it's a great deal of certainty that we're probably going to see some really great stuff. But after watching, I kind of marathoned through season 1 and 2 and reviewed all those episodes, and now I'm marathoning through this a little bit. It's just depressing, and the whole feeling of hopelessness as I watch each episode is just starting to take its toll on me. So I really need something good to happen. And watching that scene where she's taking such pride in her plans to create Year Zero, and Nazi Don Draper just being like, yeah, she's got some great ideas. And her whole thing with Thelma, I don't even understand. That doesn't even really need to be in here, I don't think. I think maybe that's just a thing that they decided to put in there to, I don't know, whatever. It's fine. It's just unnecessary. You'd think that maybe that I would be singing the praises of watching 2 pretty women kiss each other, but for some reason, just story-wise, it just doesn't seem to make sense to why it's there. Maybe because Joe's making out, having a fling with Juliana again. Maybe it's just fair to let her have her fling with this lady. I don't know. Now Smith, on the other hand, man, we're getting to see some of that bad shit that happened with him. He's thinking about his kid and how he, misses him and all the things that have gone on, and then he has that dream where it appears it's him and the other guy when they were talking about what went down in Cincinnati. And if that's what they did in Cincinnati, man, any sympathy for John Smith goes right out the window again. If he was flinging little children around and bashing their heads in against building concrete, again, karma coming back around. You took out all these other families and now you're losing yours. It's just fitting. It's Shakespearean, I guess, in a way. But I'm hoping that he's, again, this is his road to redemption. I hope that he tries to figure out a way to save other people's children and not just his own. Because now that he's starting to come around to the idea that there are other Thomases and other hymns and everything else, that maybe he can, instead of just trying to save a Thomas, maybe he's just thinking, I'll just take a Thomas from another world and bring it here. I don't know if that's where he's going with it. But I mean, he's a selfish traitorous piece of shit, so who knows what he's thinking, I guess. again, acted with perfection by Rufus Sewell. He's just phenomenal. He, again, like I said, him and like Keto and Tagomi and Himmler even, like all these guys, they're all just so interesting to watch. And they're all so well written. Except for Himmler, I guess he's just kind of your basic guy. But all these other guys, even like, well, we'll get to that. They're just so much more interesting than Juliana and Joe and all that stuff. Joe's starting to get a little bit more interesting if it's more than just what I think is on the surface. If there's some deeper layer in there, hopefully that's what I'm talking about. Now, we got Ed and Bob, and this is like the weakest part of the story now, because I really do like Ed and Bob, but the way they handle this, again, what comes around goes around, you know. If you're trying to take people for their stuff for cheap, then you end up getting taken. That's what I know that's what they're trying to say. Like that things will come back around on you. Fine. I just don't, I think that was really stupidly written the way that they're driving the car and this gang comes up on them on bikes and they just completely fall apart. And I know they're not soldiers or nothing, but I mean, you have a gun. Keep your shit, they can't keep their shit together for 2 seconds. I mean, I know it's the way it's written on the page, but why would you write them like that? Like, Ed's not afraid of a lot of stuff, but he's all like, oh no, like, oh, get the gun, oh no. And then they get taken for everything. After all that, after those scenes of like talking about John Wayne's belt buckle and all that stuff, it's supposed to be, you know, some sort of symbolic, you know, karma thing, but it's just clunky to me. And just another, I don't know, taking from other people and then they get the same stuff taken from them. I get it. It's a little ham-fisted and cheesy. But I don't know. I still like Ed and Bob a lot. Okay, so Wyatt shows up in San Francisco. Jason O'Mara, who I really want to see more of on this show because he is a good actor. And so I hope he can start elevating some of the other characters around him to be more interesting characters. He doesn't really get much to do in this, but again, like I said, we're on episode 4, so that's pretty much it for this episode. So if you liked it, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. I realize I'm like one of the only people reviewing this show right now, so I appreciate anybody that watches it. We have videos on The Expanse, and we got Walking Dead coming up Sunday. We've got the Venom review. We got a whole bunch of stuff on the channel, so if you are new here, check out all the stuff. We might have something else you like. So anyways, this is Rob for Smirking Gun Review saying we'll be back with episode 5 later today, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye.